me. I'm a champion, I need some trophies. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the three. I can run 100 yards, I can throw it deep. I ain't choose the gang trophy. I'm a champion, I need some trophies. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the three. I can run 100 yards.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Extra Point. I'm Lauro Antonio with James Gonzalez here. We have a really good show for you guys tonight. We had a lot of crazy games this weekend in the divisional round, and we can't wait to give you our picks on who is going to be going to Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles next Sunday after the two conference championship games conclude, which is going to be a great show. With me is James Gonzalez. And James, how's it going tonight, my friend?
I'm really stunned about how the weekend went. I think it was no doubt the best weekend of divisional football we've ever seen. You know, we have 3 out of the 4 underdogs winning. The betting was probably crazy and wild, and how many people, lost and those few winning. So we'll get to all that for sure.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get to all of that for sure here. So let's start with Saturday's game here. I know we're going to save the Chiefs and Bills game for last, but I'm going to start with the Saturday games first. So the Bengals and the Titans, I'll tell you what. The Bengals, if you look at this Bengals team, they're better than being a 4 seed. The Titans, to me, they were more of a 4 seed than a 1 seed. They were just a fake one team in the AFC. And I don't think that they should have not gotten that, just because I just feel like that the Titans are better off being a 4 seed in the AFC, because I think that the best teams in the top 3 teams in the AFC are from the AFC East, the AFC West, and the AFC North. So the Bengals, however, their Cinderella story continued, and talk about Joe Burrow ending a drought in Cincinnati. And I'll tell you what, he has been such a culture changer for the Cincinnati Bengals. And it tells me something. I think the Bengals are ready to be a Super Bowl contender as early as next season. By the way, they've played so far in the playoffs.
Yeah, you mentioned it. I think you were the first one maybe that said, watch out for this Bengals team. They can win their division when everybody didn't think so. They can mess around and win a playoff game. And they've done that twice. So, Lauro, that's credit to you with that. Everyone had them winning, 6 or 7 games. That's the ceiling. And everybody thought, oh, well, they'll just have a great season, but they won't make any, noise. But, oh, man, did they make some noise. So, Saturday, it was the 4-seeded Bengals and the 1st-seeded Texans.
You mean Tennessee Titans?
Tennessee Titans. I want to say Oilers, too. It was a revival of an old AFC Central rivalry back in the 90s. In, I think it was 1991, the Bengals defeated the Oilers 27-14. And then the last playoff win for Cincinnati was, of course, last week. But before that was 91. It's great to see this team, grow. They have all sorts of weapons, and they're definitely a threat. Joe Mixon, I remember reading, felt really confident coming into the game. And everybody else, really. Joe Burrow says, hey, this is our time. We're going to take it. I'll tell you what, having a kicker like that, Evan McPherson, only a rookie, but he's very confident. He's won 4 games for him this year, and, real key ones, too. He hit a 52-yarder to win it, and I like to think his quotes spoke volumes. He was saying it was a kicker's dream to have the game on his shoulders. So he was very confident. For Tennessee, it was great having Derrick Henry back, but I didn't expect much from him. He did score a touchdown early, but he had about, 62 yards rushing. Julio Jones was back, too, with the nagging hamstring injury, but he wasn't as good. But I'll tell you who shined, though, A.J. Brown. He had 5 receptions for 185 yards. He was really good. He had that one-handed catch where Tannehill threw it perfectly to his show breadbasket there. It's pretty cool. But I tell you what, the first play Tannehill had, if you saw low roll, was an interception, and that became a theme for Ryan Tannehill. He basically lost him the game, sadly. For all the things he did well, he had those 3 picks. And the last one, of course, was to Logan Wilson. And then the Bengals were right in business for McPherson to make that kick from, I think it was 52 yards. Tennessee, it seemed to me, had so many chances to win that game and just failed. And it's a credit to Joe Burrow for hanging in there. He got sacked 9 times. That's the second time that's happened in history. Lynn Dawson was sacked 9 times against the Bills in the 66 AFL championship. But those are the only 2 to win the games with that many sacks. So it was good resolve by the Bengals and Burrow to get the job done any way they could. And for Tannehill, you've been seeing all the memes and all that, but man, he's gotta get over a hump. He's got to get over this playoff hump. And even with the first seed, like you said, it was fraudulent. So we'll see how they do next week. They have a even taller mountain to climb, but they're young and they're hungry, and they are a definite threat here.
Yeah, they're definitely a threat to the Chiefs here in this Sunday's game, but I think that we are going to see. I think we're going to see a really good game in the AFC Championship game. We'll talk about the Bills-Chiefs game in just a minute here. The next game we'll talk about is an unexpected loss to the Green Bay Packers as they lost to the 49ers on a field goal here. We'll get to the Aaron Rodgers stuff in a minute, but I'll tell you what, the Packers only scored 10 points offensively. They did not look they didn't look like the Green Bay Packer offense that we all love and know. But I think that the Niners, they somehow still have the Packers number in the playoffs. They've been the kryptonite of the Green Bay Packers in the postseason.
It's amazing. Rodgers now 0-4. He was 0-3 coming in. He did have 2 regular season wins over San Francisco, but that's not when the money's made. The money's made in the postseason. So some key parts before the game, you had David Bakhtiari, who was out. And
yeah, Bakhtiari's out. And
Bakhtiari. Marcus Scantling was out as well. Valdez Scantling. Although they had Lazard, but I remember Jimmy G was saying that before the game. He was saying they had a slow start in the season, and then they treated every game coming up as a playoff game, a playoff mentality. They adapted that, and they've come in really hot into the playoffs here. So they have a style, and they have a running style, and then their defense stepped up. They stopped Rodgers when they needed it the most. George Kittle was definitely strong on the third down plays. Samuel, even though it's not shown by the numbers, he had about 100 yards or 80 yards in total, but they were big yards. And you see both limping off after the game, but they got the job done. Their special teams stepped up. You saw the blocked field goal, and then you saw the blocked punt by Jordan Willis. And then Huffayenga picked it up and scored from the 6-yard line. So that was cool to see that. Special teams coming in, the Packers were dead last. And you could credit that to Aaron Rodgers and his offense. They'd never really allow the punting team to get on because they score so much. So the special teams really let the Packers down. And as you mentioned with the stats, Aaron Rodgers in that snow in the second half, he couldn't really do as much. He did throw for 225 yards, but no touchdowns. Aaron Jones was the main receiver, if you can believe that. He had 9 receptions for 129 yards. Adams had 90, but those were the only two that really stepped it up. Cobb didn't do much. Lazard didn't do much. A.J. Dillon had to leave the game with a broken rib, so that really hurt Green Bay. You mentioned the offseason. If I wanted to get in that real quick.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit, but I'll tell you what, this is Isaiah's face right now after the Niners beat Green Bay out on field goal. This is for the audience that knows that Isaiah loves his Niners. And let's see
boy.
We want to see that reaction right now, baby.
Woo! Woo! How about them Niners, baby? Turn it up, DJ! Turn it up! Turn it up! Come on, turn it up, DJ! Woo! That's right, Jay-Z! Guess who's back? The Niners are back! We back!
Well, we would be playing that next week if the Niners were to beat the Rams. So, anyways, we'll talk about the Packers here. So the debate is Aaron Rodgers going to play one more season in Green Bay, or do you think he just hangs it up and it's time to pass it to Jordan Love?
To be honest with you, I don't think Jordan Love is ready for that starting role. So to me, it seems like if Adams isn't signed back, then Rodgers isn't going to be back. They had a last dance mentality when the season started, from the Michael Jordan documentary. And they were going to go into the season together, and whatever happens, happens. Something tells me that both will leave. And then when you think about it, the whole offseason will be wild for the Packers because they're $44.8 million over the salary cap. So when you think about it, Rodgers and Adams want more money. Lazard and Tunyon contracts are up, and those are two key components on the roster. So I think Rodgers leaves. I think Adams leaves. But if both stay, then they're both going to stay, obviously. But it's not one without the other. It's a package deal, and I think Rodgers is going to try to manipulate the front office for that. And then he might have less protection. He might have less playmakers around him, let's just say. So in the draft, they're going to have to do well to replace those players that they really need. But at least they have a running game they can rely on. But they're going to need another receiver. They're going to need another offensive lineman to shore up the losses they're going to have. And then you might have some salary dumps on the defensive end because they signed a bunch of players on free agency, remember, a couple of years ago. And they're not really performing as they should, at least as well as they get paid. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting offseason. I think everybody is shocked that the 6th-seeded Niners defeat the Packers like this, the first seed, and it's an early exit. It's one that Packer fans are dreading. As you saw Isaiah, he's really happy. He's really going crazy. That's not Jay-Z, by the way. It's Eminem playing in that song. But yeah, we'll see if the Niners can continue to stay hot. I think they're the hottest team coming in. The stats might not prove that, but the defense got timely stops, like I mentioned. To beat a team like Green Bay in their environment, that's just awesome. And it really shows like you can go into Lambeau and defeat the Packers anytime. And even in the playoffs, they've had their struggles. They've only been to one Super Bowl since 2009 or 10, and in one championship game, or a couple, I should say, but never able to get over that hump. So back to the drawing board again.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion is that Jordan Love has watched Aaron Rodgers play these first 2 seasons. And if he's ready to go, I would expect him to be ready to go. I think Jordan Love is going to be a really good quarterback for the Packers. But I could get why you don't think he's ready. I feel like he is ready because he's watched Aaron Rodgers from the sideline and how he works, how he prepares. I think Jordan Love. I think it'll be his time if Rodgers ends up retiring.
He better be ready. That's a big shoes to fill.
And I do think that Matt LaFleur should be excited about coaching Jordan Love.
Yeah,
who is, I think, the heir apparent here to Rodgers. So, anyways, let's talk about the next topic we're going to be talking about is the Sunday games. Let's start with the Buccaneers and the Rams here. So, aside from Rodgers having an uncertain future, there was a lot of speculation surrounding Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But also for the Rams, they're in a position to win now, and I think they really capitalized. And I think the Rams did a really good job in this game. I mean, I thought they almost choked, but you know what? The coaching credit the coaching staff led by Sean McVay for doing a really good job getting this team together and kicking that game-winning field goal by Matt Gay.
Yeah, coming in, you had the 2 injuries for each team when you thought about it. The left tackle, the 40-year-old Andrew Whitworth, was going to be out, and then Taylor Rapp, the safety, and then you go to Tampa Bay. They were without Ronald Jones Jr., and then or the third, and then the right tackle Tristan Wirfs. So what the oddest thing about that, though, the right tackle wasn't the issue. It was the left side of the line where Von Miller was getting in there and hitting Brady, making things happen, a strip fumble, sack. They really got to Brady, and I thought that was the key of the game. Remember the week 2 matchup that they had in Inglewood at SoFi? They really disrupted the offense of the Bucs, and there was no comeback. Well, this time, Brady, definitely gave a scare to everybody. It's going to be the same movie and the same ending. Like, we've seen this before. It was almost like the Super Bowl against the Falcons. They were down 20+. It was getting late, and they forced overtime. Well, fortunately, LA got the ball in the coin toss. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the Super Bowl. Anyway, with 42 seconds in the fourth quarter, for some reason, the Tampa Bay Buc defense allowed Cooper Kupp to go wild and make a couple catches and get into field goal range and shock, I think, everyone. Because I think everyone had the Bucs, but there were a lot of people coming in and say, hey, the Bucs have Tom Brady, but the Rams have a better team when you think about it. Some really key things coming up. He's 44 years old. I think he'll come back next season. He put up the numbers with Mike Evans today really well. 8 receptions, 119 yards, and 1 touchdown. That last drive that they had before the Rams got it last, the Bucs and Brady were going right to Mike Evans. If it wasn't Gronkowski, if it wasn't Fournette, who had a really good game, it was Mike Evans, and he really showed out. I think if they had Godwin, they probably have won this game. But to answer your first question, though, Loro, I think Brady will come back for age 45, and he'll try to recapture what was his. I think that he'll come back next year for sure. But credit to LA for winning.
Yeah, credit to LA there. I think Tom Brady will be back for one more season. I think he's going to win Super Bowl championship number 8 before he retires. And we want to welcome Isaiah Leon to the broadcast. And you must be in a good mood because what? The Niners have upset the Green Bay Packers in the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Who would have thought? And let's go to our comment section here. Casey King says, good evening, gentlemen, and how about those LA Rams? And he says, it is on next weekend, Leon. And Isaiah, tell us your thoughts on the Niners' stunning victory over the Packers. And have you given Adam Barber the heat?
Actually, I actually did last night after the game was over. I'm still like really shocked that the Niners actually pulled it out because I mean our offense. It's probably the understatement of the year to say that our offense couldn't do anything last night. We were ice cold, no pun intended. It was just bad on offense. I mean, every time we got to the red zone, we either turned the ball over or we just set up for field goals or got some stupid penalty, which kept us out of field goal range or didn't get on fourth down. So when Green Bay got when Green Bay got stuffed, I think this was like on fourth down. It was like third down. Armstead gets the sack, and then the Niners have to the Green Bay Packers have to punt the football back to the San Francisco 49ers with like 4 minutes left. I'm like, we're down 7, but we get the ball back, but I'm not optimistic at all because our offense hasn't shown me at that point that I should be optimistic. So I was like, yeah, man, we're going to get the ball back. I'm just hoping that we could just put some sort of drive together because there was 4 minutes left in the ball game. I didn't anticipate anything wild going on. I was just like, please, just run the football. You got 4 minutes left. Run the football. You got 3 timeouts left. Run the football. Do some play action. Can our guys please catch the ball for once? Like, there were so many passes that, like, guys dropped. Juwan Jennings dropped a couple. George Kittle dropped the wide open one. And then Jimmy Garoppolo had George Kittle wide open in the end zone. He releases that ball 2 seconds earlier. That's a touchdown right there. But then he throws the pick to Adrian Amos. So many missed opportunities. And then somehow, some way, I went to grab a cup of coffee, right? Because I was like, oh, Green Bay is punting the football back to us. Like, they're not going to do anything stupid. We're going to get the ball back. I can just go grab a cup of coffee real quick. And then as I'm going there to grab a cup of coffee from my own house, all of a sudden I hear massive cheer and Joe Buck going crazy. And I'm like, what just happened? What just happened? And I'm running back towards, my own, my TV room area. And I'm like, what? The Green Bay Packers got the ball, the punt block. The Niners somehow, some way recovered the punt, and they not only recovered the punt, but they ran it into the end zone, and now it's a tie game. And I'm like, and I started slapping myself in the face because I was like, am I really seeing this right? Like, did this really just happen that we just tied this game on a blocked punt recovered by Talanoa Hufanga? Like, am I dreaming right now? Like, that was my reaction to that kind of that blocked punt. And then, when we get the ball back, after, Green Bay goes 3 and out, and we were lucky to get a 3 and out because Josh Norman or Devontae Adams had Josh Norman beat on that route deep. And I'm surprised that the refs did not call a penalty on that one, where I thought that Josh Norman held Devontae Adams he interfered with Devontae Adams. And I was so shocked that he didn't call a penalty because when I saw that play, I was like, oh, crap, man. Josh Norman just gave us another flag. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are going to get a PI. Green Bay's going to get into field goal range. But then when I saw that Josh Norman didn't get called for a flag, I was like, I think the Lord is a 49ers fan because of all the crazy plays that happened late in the game. And then you see what happens. Jimmy G leads the 49ers down the field on a clutch drive that very end to get the field goal. And it was just an insane game. I mean, I still can't believe we won. It's been like 24 hours since the game ended. I still can't believe the Niners are somehow moving on to the NFC Championship. It was just so surreal, so shocking how everything played out. I mean, I really thought the Niners were going to lose when they got the ball back with like 4 minutes left because I thought our offense wasn't going to do anything. but I mean, this team is so resilient. This team is so clutch, and it's just unbelievable to see what we witnessed last night. And for Green Bay to end how it did last night with only like 10 men on the field for the field goal, like that's absolutely pathetic, man. Matt LaFleur, he needs to be ashamed of what happened. He needs to be embarrassed. Because you're the head coach of a football team. I mean, I think they didn't have any timeouts left, but you at least need to count the people on the field that's going out for a field goal. You can't have 10 men on the field trotting out at once. Like that's like one of the most dumbest things I've ever seen in my life watching football. And if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm telling Green Bay management to get me the hell out of here because I mean I've dealt with enough like BS in my life as a Green Bay Packer. And to deal with this is just adding insult to injury.
Absolutely. Then I'm going to stay with you on this one before we move on with Ben Kershaw. Isaiah, what is your thoughts on the Bengals win over the Titans and also the Rams win over the Bucks?
I mean, it was wow. This was probably like the craziest weekend of football like I've watched in a long, long time. The Bengals Titans game, I mean, that was crazy because I really thought, like the Niners Packers game, I thought Tennessee was going to win it, especially when they had the ball late in the game. And I checked my my Yahoo Sports app, and I was like, yeah, Tennessee's going to win. They're just going to go down the field and score because I don't trust this Bengals defense to stop that Tennessee offense. And they get the pick, the clutch pick. And then, you know, the tables turned right there. And as far as the Rams and the Bucks game is concerned, I mean, this was probably like the other two games we were talking about. You know, you thought at like one point that the Bucks were for sure going to win because Tom Brady and the Bucks, they had come back from 27-3 down. They got the momentum. They tied the ball game. And Matthew Stafford, I believe, only had like 40 seconds left. And, you know, honestly, I was thinking in my head, when I saw that Fournette scored, my first thought when he scored was I was glad that Tampa scored, but I was like, dude, you left way too much time. You left 40 seconds on the clock. I thought what Fournette should have done was I thought Fournette should have just sat there at the one, like Ahmad Bradshaw tried to do in the 2011 Super Bowl, but he failed. I thought he should have tried to sit down at the 1 yard line. Instead of scoring, because I think that if you sit down at the one, you still got 2 timeouts left. You have the game basically in your favor because there's no way you're not going to score a touchdown with 4 chances from the 1 yard line. There's absolutely no way that you're not going to score. So I thought Fournette should have sat down, but I mean they left too much time on the clock for Matthew Stafford. But that game was so insane, man. From how bleak it looked in the beginning, from you basically thinking in your mind that the Rams were going to win and move on, to Tom Brady marching down the field and coming back and storming back, and then you thinking that the Bucks were going to no doubt win this football game, and then the Rams come up with the win. I mean, it was just so insane.
Yeah, it was insane, that's for sure. We'll talk about the Bills-Chiefs game in just a minute and talk about how crazy is that. Ben Kershaw, welcome to the show, my friend. Tell us your thoughts on the Bengals and Titans game and then the Packers and 49ers game, and then also talk about the Rams beating the Buccaneers. So start with talking about the Bengals and Titans game before we all recap the craziest game of this round.
Well, first of all, I got to say is my heart's still pounding from all the madness that I saw all weekend. And I'm not even a fan of any of those teams, but that I was just in the shower and I was just thinking to myself, like, how lucky we were to see great football after what happened last weekend. It was just such a great weekend, just of intense back and forth games. And I mean, I was literally shaking at like the last game. And I was just like, just in my mind, I felt like I was even there. It was just that insane. And obviously the AFC is in great hands with quarterbacks for the future, which is great to see. NFC, obviously, they had great games too. The Bengals-Titans game, Tennessee, it came down to quarterback play. Ryan Tannehill. I did think that Tennessee was going to win, but the only reason why they would have lost is Ryan Tannehill. He nothing to take away from him, but he just there's something about the big moments where he definitely just doesn't come up big. And you have Derrick Henry there who just came back, and I remember the first time they scored, they went for two. That was also a huge play in the game at the time. But what really worries me about the Bengals, yes, they did win, and McPherson was absolute money all game. He was probably the best kicker all weekend without a doubt. Joe Burrow is going to have to be able to stay upright. That's the one thing about next weekend because the offensive line from the Bengals was not good against the Tennessee Titans a lot in that game. Now, it came down to the quarterback play, like I said, in this game. But it was a great finish, to a great start to an amazing weekend. Bengals obviously move on. They obviously been deserving this for a long time. They've gone through a long drought compared to like a bunch of other teams, and I don't think many people believe them that they would be there. And so the next game was obviously the which game do you want me to recap next, Laurel?
The Packers and the 49ers.
Isaiah, what did I tell you, man? What did I tell you early on the season about this Niners team? I told you, I said, watch with Kittle and IU come back. Watch in terms of they find a way to structure their team and get themselves going because this just always seems a team that shows fight and resilience. And I've seen that for many, many years with this 49ers team. It doesn't matter about their quarterback play. It doesn't matter about their defense, their coaching. It's all about toughness. And this reminds me of the 2000. As much as it hurts to say me as a Patriot fan in 2007, it reminds me of the 2007 New York Giants in a way where it doesn't seem like it's a big household team, but you play against some of the quality top-tier teams that no one gives you a chance to have you win, and you essentially go in and you're playing with literally house money, and you're finding a way to get the job done. And I think that's one thing about this Niners team is they matched up well against a Dallas offense with a lot of weapons. You play press man, and you do that against a Green Bay defense. Yes, Devontae Adams, he did have big catches, but that's Devontae Adams. I mean, he's arguably the best receiver in football. But if you take away everything else besides what he did, they didn't do a whole lot. And Aaron Rodgers for a lot of that game was not playing great at all. And you got to give credit to what the structure is. I don't even know the defensive coordinator for the Niners, but whoever it is, I got to give a lot of props because he's playing his absolute ass off in terms of every single play on and off the field. And this was a colossal failure, I have to say, for the Green Bay Packers. I thought this was the year, if any year, to go and make a run for the Super Bowl because, I've seen it for a long period of time in terms of Aaron Rodgers. He has a great – he's one of the best quarterbacks ever. I definitely understand greatness with Aaron Rodgers. He's amazing. But you see, obviously, the difference. I'm obviously not trying to get my Brady bias or whatever in, but you look at a couple of guys that are just proven winners when it comes to postseason, and you look at guys that just come up short. And I'm not saying that Rodgers is a guy that comes up short all the time, but you only put up 10 points, really, as an MVP candidate in the playoffs. I'm sorry. I mean, you got to put blame on him in this one. But the Niners just played absolutely amazing. I thought the Packers were going to still find a way to win in a low-scoring one. And I'm happy for my guy Jimmy G, man. I really am. This is obviously a guy that he doesn't seem like he puts a lot on there in terms of making plays and stuff. He makes definitely some boneheaded plays. But in the end, he finds a lot of chances to win. And last couple of years, he felt like the same way, and he was in the Super Bowl. He was a couple plays away from even winning it, per se. So, got to give a lot of props to your Niners, man. Isaiah, congrats. Take this in. And we'll see how they do next week. Casey King, who's joining in the show, I'd like to congratulate you on the Rams. Obviously, I was pulling for my Bucks. Well, I'm not a Bucks fan per se, but obviously I was pulling for my guys and Tom and Gronk. And what a finish of a game. This obviously was a game where 27-3, Rams had fully controlled this game without a doubt. And I'm not sure who this is joining, but I would like to definitely talk to him because I was in a while, the finished game of the last game. But this Rams Bucks game was amazing. This was intense. I knew the Sunday games were going to be great, but the whole weekend was just crazy. I mean, you look at kind of from top first game to the next game, you want to rank them, go ahead, because I'm ready for that. And so, but yeah, Matthew Stafford, man, this was obviously a great game for Matthew Stafford, and I'm really happy for him as a Pats fan because he never really got the love and deserve when he was over in Detroit. He spent countless amount of years not making it to playoffs, and he comes up in terms of playing in the biggest moment. I got to give a lot of props for my guy Tom. My guy Tom, he's just a warrior. 27-3. As much as the Bucks defense came up with some big stops, he had to make it was on 27-3. Made a 4th and 9 throw, first down to Scotty Miller, first touchdown from Leonard Fournette. The next drive, the Bucks got another. I forgot what it was. It might have been that bad snap after Brady got strip sacked from Von Miller, and then he threw an absolute dime. I mean, a dime to Mike Evans, and it just seemed like the momentum was shifting in the Buccaneers' hands. And then, the Bucks seemed to find a way to get another stop, and then they tied it, 27-3, guys. This reminded me a lot of Super Bowl 51 with the Falcons. I swear to God, I'm not saying Brady has all the luck, but I mean, he's a warrior. And if this is his last game, I don't want it. I hope it's not, because there's obviously a lot of brewing rumors out there that he could be done. He could be, but if this is his last game, he's not pulling down without a fight. And this is obviously the one thing that you cannot do about Brady. My brother was upstairs telling me this. I'm just like, he told me it's over. It's 27-3. I'm like, you really want to count this guy out? He's been our quarterback for 20 years, and look what happened. I mean, it was in the third quarter too. So I mean, but the Bucks just came up short. Like Casey, congrats to your Rams, man. Great season, great defense. Even when things didn't go well in the second half, they were able to overcome it. And Matthew Stafford in the fourth quarter, he's just on another level. Also, too, what is Todd Bowles thinking on playing cover 0 on that throw to Cooper Kupp? I don't get it. While you're blitzing, you're essentially not trying to give up the big plays in that situation. It's one of the most confusing plays. And we've seen, despite a lot of the big-time games we saw, so many confusing games. Obviously, that Bills-Chiefs game, oh, man, I've definitely blown a pick with that one. But, man, oh, man. And Todd Bowles is obviously a defense. I think he's going to be having a coaching interview. But, yeah, as much as obviously it's sad to see me Tom leaving, or potentially leaving in terms of retirement. If this is it, this is obviously a great way to kind of finish off unprecedented career. But I think he's going to come back. I don't think he's going to go out with a loss. And then we got one more game to talk about for me.
Yeah, but anyways, with that being said, Isaiah wants to add something about this Rams-Buck game before we talk about the game that was the game of the weekend between the Bills and the Chiefs. So Isaiah, go ahead.
I agree with Ben, and I forgot to add my my first point on this when I was making my.
So anyways,
Laurel,
Isaiah, we lost him for a moment here, but we'll go ahead. We lost Isaiah for a moment here as he deals with technical difficulties here. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the Chiefs and Bills game. I thought was this the Bills' year? Was this the Bills' year to go on to the Super Bowl? You know what? This was unfortunate for the Bills. I didn't think this was a failure for the Bills. I know that this team has such a bright future and that their ceiling is still very, very high and all that good stuff. And I think that this team's going to be really good in the near future, like Ben and I have talked about with the Buffalo Bills. So, anyways, I'll start with James on this one here. What was your thoughts on that Bills and Chiefs game? This felt like the AFC Championship game, and that should have been the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, totally. This has become a good rivalry between Kansas City and Buffalo, just like it was in the 90s. And just like those years, one team was winning the big games. Buffalo back then in the 90s were always beating the Chiefs in the playoffs. Well, things have turned. The Kansas City Chiefs are now beating the Bills in the Super Bowl. Last playoffs, they lost in the championship game, did Buffalo. In the regular season, Buffalo did win in Arrowhead, but that's the regular season. And for tonight's game, Buffalo played an even game with Kansas City, and you have to keep up with them. And then you also have to, only allow Kansas City field goals, and they did that for the most part. But then they allowed them to get back in the game. It was going back and forth. The defense got definitely tired for Buffalo, as you saw, and that was unfortunate. Kansas City, it's amazing to think because they're like a machine. They're like the Warriors from like 5 years ago where they can put so many points on you in, so many minutes. It's just amazing how they can play. They went to Kelsey late. Tyreek Hill was running around like he's avoiding people in the game of tag. It was just amazing. It's crazy how Mahomes, you can only allow him a certain amount of time. Well, he was only allowed, 13 seconds on that last drive, and they're able to tie the game. But you could definitely tell the Bills' defense was kind of tired late, especially in that overtime session. You just knew, you've seen the script before, where Kansas City was going to score in the overtime session and win. This game, of course, was the only one decided not by 3 points, not by a field goal, but by 6 points. And it was very unfortunate. You got to give Bills credit being the third seed, winning their division over New England after they lost it, and then they got it back. So that was wild. But, credit to the Bills. But again, their season ends by the hands of the Chiefs.
Absolutely. And Isaiah, I'm going to go to you on this one. Tell us your thoughts on the Bills and Chiefs game. And also, you had another thought about the Rams and Bucks game. But also, we want to welcome to the show, we got John Alcorn pretending to be Josh Allen. And then Christy Wilson.
Screw the Chiefs.
Welcome her to the program.
Hi, guys.
And then down goes Brady, and that is Big B. Brandon Herrera is joining the show here, and we want to welcome those two to the program. So, Isaiah, go ahead and give us your thoughts on the Bills and Chiefs matchup, and also, is there something that you wanted to add in the Buccaneers and Rams game?
Could you guys hear me all right, by the way? I was having some audio issues earlier.
I can hear you.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
we can.
Okay, so
Spider.
so the thing I wanted to say about the Rams and the Bucks game is I agree with what Ben had to say about the defense, and I forgot to make that or forgot to add that point to what I was saying earlier about the Rams and Bucks game. Is dude, you're Todd Bowles, and Bruce Arians even said this after the game. And he confirmed that they were going to run an all-out blitz cover zero. Why are you running an all-out blitz on that play when you know that Cooper Kupp's going to be wide open if Matthew Stafford has time to throw the football? It makes no sense whatsoever. I really don't understand that play call by Todd Bowles and Bruce Arians. They deserve to lose that game after that horrific play call to run cover zero all-out blitz on that play when I believe it was 30-something seconds left and it was 2nd and 11. Just play your regular defense. Get after Matthew Stafford like you had done the play before, and you'll be good. As far as the Chiefs and the Bills are concerned, it was a great game. One of the best games of all time. I mean, this was back and forth. I really couldn't believe what I was watching. I think, some of the people here at the airport probably think that I need to be shipped off to a psychiatric hospital because I was literally stomping my feet, jumping up and down and screaming like crazy. And they were wondering what's going on? And, it was because of this game. This game was just so amazing. The Chiefs pulled out the improbable. That's what I'm going to say. They pulled out the improbable by coming back, 13 seconds left. I think they're down 3. They have to go 40-plus yards just to get into field goal range. And somehow, some way, the the Buffalo Bills allow them to do so. Like I don't understand. And I'm gonna go on here and I'm gonna call for Leslie Frazier's job because you're the defensive coordinator. You've been around the NFL for a long time, and you know this is Patrick Mahomes we're talking about. This is Patrick Mahomes, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, a guy that has put up great numbers and could light it up in just one play. And for some reason, you decide to play prevent defense and you play soft coverage when you're playing Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I know there's 13 seconds left, but still, like you're not playing CJ Beathard or any of those like scrub quarterbacks. You're playing Patrick freaking Mahomes, and you go out there and play prevent defense and soft coverage. You deserve to lose by playing prevent defense and playing soft coverage. Even though all the odds were against the Chiefs at that point, you still gotta play your aggressive regular defense that you have played all game long. I don't understand like the shift in philosophy going from an aggressive attacking defense early in the game to when 13 seconds left, when you really need to put the game away right here, you go prevent defense. It makes no sense whatsoever. I don't understand why Leslie Frazier called it. I mean, you could see it right there. That's why Mahomes had two plays, boom, and the Chiefs, they were already in field goal range. So I don't understand that decision by the Chiefs, but it was a great game between the Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. And it sucks that Josh Allen wasn't able to get through that hurdle of beating Patrick Mahomes. But you got to hand it to Mahomes and the Chiefs. I mean, 13 seconds left. You're down 3. You're at your own like 25-yard line. The odds are probably like 0.0001% that you will even come back and get into field goal range. And Mahomes, he put off the improbable and got them the win. So, but I think that this had more to do with Leslie Frazier and his just awful play calling down the stretch, especially in that sequence when the Chiefs got the ball back.
You're absolutely right. I think that this was a real credit to Chiefs for winning, but as a Patriots fan, I'm kind of happy that the Buffalo Bills ended up losing this game. I was kind of wanting the Bills out of the playoffs since they knocked out my New England Patriots a week ago. Want to welcome Christy to the show, and give us your thoughts on the whole like divisional round games, and also especially the Patriots and the Chiefs game, which was. What a game we saw today. And it was a really good weekend, though.
It's crazy. I couldn't believe it. I almost lost my mind over the whole Bucks-Rams game, but I was glad the Rams pulled it out.
We're having trouble hearing Christy.
Loro, I can hear can y'all?
You're cracking up, Christy.
Oh, sorry.
We can hear you, Christy. Everybody, Ben and James and I can hear you.
Oh, okay. But holy cow! That both Bucks, Rams, Chiefs, Bills, crazy games. Wow.
Yeah, they were crazy games, but which one did you like out of the most between the Bills, Chiefs, Bucks, Rams, Packers, 49ers, or the Titans and the Bengals?
Well, besides Titans, Bengals, that was pretty cool. Bucks, Rams, because I thought Brady was going to make a comeback, and I almost lost my mind over that in a way. But I'm glad the Rams pulled it out in the end.
And
so
what about the
definitely
Chiefs
the two
and
games
and what about the Chiefs and Bills? That was like the game of the year in the playoffs.
Wow. So it happens when you leave 13 seconds on the clock. Patrick Mahomes will tear you to shreds.
13
seconds.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, John. And John, welcome to the show here. So what was your thoughts on the entire divisional round?
I don't give a rat's fine fart what happened today. I'm more than happy to be wrong because my team's in the AFC Championship game. Screw the Raiders. Screw the Broncos. Literally screw the Titans. And this is the thing that and I mean that and just because we played you in the playoffs. Not because
I know.
if we didn't play the playoffs, and I mean they had a good season. This is the same thing I've talked about. Ryan Tannehill is a fraud. They need to arrest Ryan Tannehill for impersonating a franchise quarterback. It's the same thing for the past 3 seasons, folks. The answer is right in front of you. When Derrick Henry is stopped, which somehow, I don't know how the Bengals defense did it. They nearly pulled a Minneapolis miracle because you know that defense is real sus. And then you stop Derrick Henry. He only had 3.1 yards per carry. So when you limit him to less than 20 carries, like 15 plus, I think it's 15 plus carries, and they won most of their games, then Ryan Tannehill is garbage. On the first play of the game, I'm getting ready for work, and I nearly scream my lungs out, interception, interception. And then I get to work, and so I'm working this event for the John Elton concert, and I'm like, okay. So I go, I'm about headed into work. I'm looking at the last second for the game-winning field goal, and I nearly screamed like a girl in front of everybody. I don't really care. My voice is super hoarse because I've been screaming all weekend. But no, I definitely think it's been a long time. The Bengals haven't won a road playoff game since the late 80s when Blockbuster first launched, and that tells you how long it's been. But for Titans, though, I think you're going to have to do an evaluation this offseason because despite how great Derrick Henry is, this current core would never win a Super Bowl. This current core would never win a Super Bowl with Ryan Tannehill as their quarterback. And until we have that conversation, then I don't know what you want because you have the perfect roster. You shouldn't have traded for Julio Jones. He's older. We're going to the games today, though. Oh, my gosh. I experienced all the football trauma like 30,000 times. I lost my voice today. I was screaming and shouting. I picked the Bucks to win, but if you're Brady, there's no way he's retiring. He's coming back next year. I mean, he if he's pissed off, he'll come back one more year. But for Josh Allen, I think every single Bills defensive coordinator, every single Bills staff member of the defense needs to write him a 30-page apology letter. Each person on the defense, each person, the defensive coordinator, needs to write Josh Allen an apology letter. You had barely a minute left in the game. Like, no problem. We're good to go. He brings you back. McKenzie balls out of nowhere. Maybe he gets the bag in a year or two, and you're good to go. 13 seconds left. And what does this defense do? What the fuck are you doing? You literally had 13 seconds left on the clock, and you let Mahomes, the guy who puts ketchup on a steak, which in Texas, that's a Texas sin. You march down the field with 14 seconds left, and they go into freaking overtime. The Bills lost because of the defense. Usually in some playoff because a little bit of both. No, it is the defense alone. Josh Allen had a phenomenal game. That is absolutely unacceptable, and I expect from Jordan Park, everybody, an apology letter to Josh Allen. But I give credit to where credit is due, despite me having some pride. The Chiefs, they're back in it, one game out, and we'll just have to see what happens. But on the Packers, I almost forgot the Packers game. Oh, Aaron Rodgers. I told y'all it's Matt LaPoo, not Matt LaFleur, not Matt LaWo, Matt LaPoo. This guy is a fraudulent head coach, and I've said that since the beginning. And who knows in the future, but right now he's a fraud. Because you go, oh, okay, you went 13-3. Okay, we'll go next year. You went 13-3. You lose big in the playoffs. You have Aaron Rodgers. Okay, fine. Then you lose against the Niners twice in the playoffs, and you have that weak division. Okay, fine. You go into the division. You score 7 points in 3.5 quarters. I'm walking around at work. I'm like, there's no. You score 7 points. And this is supposed to be your Super Bowl contender. So I think at that point, Aaron Rodgers is gone. He blew the Packers. He's not going to be a part of a rebuild. No, Jordan Love, they're going to give him a try run like Mason Rudolph in a year or two, and you wasted a first-round pick for that one. So I crashed the Niners, which somehow, I don't know why, but I picked them to win, and Isaiah flipped on no BS the other day. But I said that your defense line, if you can limit Aaron Rodgers, and this is the thing that obviously they couldn't do against the Chiefs, force them to stay in the pocket. You have 2 defenders outside, get 2 or 3 on the inside. So therefore, I didn't watch the game, but therefore, because once he goes out of the pocket, it's always gonna be Adam, Fontaine, Scatling, and all those guys, and Lazard. But they were able to limit it in this game. But screw all those other games. My Bengals are in the championship game, and that's my quarterback.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely, John. I mean, this was a really, I think this was a really good weekend all around. But it's time to get to the fun stuff here. It's time to predict who will be going to Super Bowl 56. Net Force come February 13th. We got the AFC Championship game featuring the Bengals and the Chiefs. and you got the 49ers and the Rams. So, anyways, let's start with the AFC Championship game. That game will be kicking off at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Pacific, and you got the Bengals and the Chiefs. So I'm going to go first with my pick here. As much as I like to roll with Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, I think that they had a really good Cinderella run, but I think their Cinderella run's going to come to an end. Give me the Chiefs in this game. I think the Chiefs will win 34-31. I think it's going to be a game-winning field goal by Harrison Butker. And Ben, I'm going to go to you next. Who do you like between the Bengals and Chiefs?
Well, first of all, Laura, I don't know if you forgot, but I didn't talk about the Bills-Chiefs game yet. So first, I will talk about that first.
First, talk about the Bills-Chiefs game, and then give us your pick for next week's AFC Championship game.
Sure. So, as I was saying before earlier when I started, I was literally shaking watching this game. I mean, there were so many good games, but as a non-fan of either team, that had to be one of the greatest games, not only of the weekend, but potentially of a whole season. It was that caliber of that good of back and forth. This is the new era type in terms of quarterbacks we were seeing, a changing of the guard. And what Stephen A. said on First Take on Friday in terms of this could be the Manning-Brady, different type of rivalry. After a game seeing that, I mean, I know it's only really one game in the playoffs, but, he's right about that. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen down the road, but it has a certain mindset to it. Two guys that are young. Well, obviously, Josh Allen has really kind of turned into his own, matured a lot in terms of his growth. And as a Pats fan myself, as long as he got number one and got a couple guys around him, he would be much better. And it's not only just him just doing Josh Allen things. He was able to come back and fight every single time you thought he was out. And that's one thing I definitely admire about the guy. Patrick Mahomes, man, and the Chiefs, yeah, they do Chiefs stuff. I mean, this definitely reminds me a lot of, as a Pats fan myself, kind of our glory days in terms of there'll be obviously things that might not go our way here and there, but we just find a ways to get stuff done. I understand you guys talk about the prevent defense and all that stuff, the 13 seconds. Why are you kicking why are you not squitting that at the end? You had 13 seconds left. You give essentially them time to return the ball. And if you squid it, then you have to pick up the ball, and then you're definitely losing that 13 seconds. If you think about it, I mean, or at least you have to be able to get the ball, maybe kneel it. But it's definitely, you could say, well, the defense 13 seconds, Patrick Mahomes. Yes, I get it. But it came down to kicking it up in the air instead, I feel, of squitting it at the end, because things could have changed for sure after that. Now, obviously, if he squitted it and he got the 13 seconds anyway, it is what it is. But it was an instant classic. I might watch this over again this week. I mean, there's nothing more about this game. Even before I run the shower, before I came on here, I was even watching like the last 2 minutes of this game. It was just back and forth. That Patrick Mahomes to Kelsey touchdown just gave me goosebumps, even though I can't stand the Chiefs, just how crazy it was. It was like 60 yards. It's okay, Laura. I did see your comment there. But yeah, it was just incredible. This game for sure gave me Patriots Chiefs 2018 AFC title vibes. And whoever won the coin toss at the end was going to win that game. It was just a matter of it. And Patrick Mahomes didn't get it on the 2018 when Brady obviously took it from him, but he got it in this one. And Josh Allen will win a Super Bowl. I guarantee you that. As long as he definitely has the coaching around him, that Buffalo team is winning one. And I as a Pats fan myself, I'm happy for that fan base. That team for sure has been a long laughing stock for a long time, and they finally deserve something. A great quarterback since Jim Kelly. So it was a great game, great period of teams. Now going on to this next game, Laura, I have to agree with you. As I really want the Bengals to win for sure, just for chaos per se. But really, whoever won this past game between the Chiefs and the Bills, we're going to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying it's guaranteed because nothing is guaranteed, but the Bengals offensive line definitely worries me a lot against the Chiefs in this game at Arrowhead with their fans. Joe Burrow's obviously going to have to put a masterclass in this type of game. He has great weapons and stuff like that, but if you have no protection from your offensive line, it does not really matter a lot. You're going to have to play track meet with Patrick Mahomes, which Josh Allen had the ability to tonight, which is huge. I just don't know if Joe Burrow can go into Arrowhead and win and during a track meet. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs low. I don't think it's going to be by a 3-point margin. You know, if it covers the spread, maybe I'll probably have to go with 27 to 16, 17 per se. Probably a 10-point game, but it's going to be a great game. And yeah, I mean, it's a loss of words in terms of the way I was thinking about that game, but what a classic and definitely a great weekend for football to top off a game like that.
And then I'm going to go to Christy on this one. Who do you like between the Chiefs and the Bengals? And I'll tell you my pick. I'm going with Mahomes and the Chiefs to return to the Super Bowl for a third year in a row.
I'm going with the upset. I'm going Joe Burrow and the Bengals because I think the Cinderella story is going to keep going.
Wow.
And
whether it ends at SoFi Stadium or not, I don't know.
That's what you said on one of your comments here. You want but we'll talk about the NFC Championship game in a minute here.
Laura,
and then
hold that thought. Christy, you definitely brought up Rams Bengals. It's funny because before the playoffs, you know, I was asking my friend who was a coworker of mine in terms of, because, you know, me and him are very strong in terms of football. And I'm asking, so what's your Super Bowl prediction? And he's like, dude, he's just like, with the way the season's been I'm expecting a Super Bowl that we're not really even expecting. Like, it's like out of the woodwork and just, you know, no Brady, no Rodgers, no Mahomes per se.
Yeah.
Bengals and Rams. And I was thinking to myself, looking at him like 5 heads or whatever at the time.
Ooh.
But now it's just like, it's crazy that it could actually happen. And the Rams be having a chance to do exactly what the Bucs did last year and win a Super Bowl in their own stadium. It's just absolutely mind-boggling. So I would not be shocked about that whatsoever.
Huh.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyways, let's go to Isaiah on this one since he's back after kind of dealing with technical issues. Who's your pick to win in the AFC Championship game next Sunday?
I want the Bengals to win, but
No. My voice is already hoarse. I'm going to go there and put you at the airport right now.
Oh, God, John's going to get you, Isaiah.
Dude, I know where you live. You sent it.
I have an orange undershirt on. Plus, I'm gonna listen to Eye of the Tiger before the game. All right.
Oh my God, he's gonna listen to Survivor.
What?
But you know about this game.
Oh, no wonder why he wants the Bengals, because he was picking the Jaguars to win the division early on in the season.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh my God.
No,
He was that big believer in the Jaguars.
I don't like
the
Chiefs.
Sorry, Lower. I had to take that cheap shot. I apologize, my man.
No worries. That was pretty funny.
Oh my God.
Don't worry, I didn't only take the Jaguars to win the AFC South, but I also had the Giants winning the NFC East, and that was even worse.
Man.
That was worse.
Nets would win their division, and Zach Wilson was the best quarterback in the division last summer.
Man.
Yeah.
I want the Bengals to win because I hate Kansas City with all my guts, but I can't pick the Bengals because I don't trust their defense whatsoever. I think that, like you said, Ben, I think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be as great of a shootout as it was today between the Chiefs and the Bills, but I believe that the Chiefs Joe Burrow and the Bengals are going to have to score toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, just because I don't believe their defense will be able to get a stop against that high-powered Chiefs offense unless they get turnovers. So give me Kansas City. I think Kansas City's too powerful. I think the Bengals, like I've been saying all year, I think they are a great story, but I think they are about a year away from actually being like Super Bowl contention. So give me Kansas City. I think Kansas City wins like 38 to like 24.
And then I'll go to James here. Who do you like in the AFC Championship game?
And as my phone falls, 2 points real quick. Gabriel Davis had a tremendous game against the Bills. And I'm wondering if Jamar Chase can duplicate that against the Chiefs defense. We'll see about right.
Well, James, Davis was the number 2, so watch out for T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, that would be amazing to see because Diggs was just shut down, really.
He was.
So that would be nice to see. And then with Mike Vrabel, I think if he was in a higher market, I think he would have got fired maybe after the game. At any rate, to beat the best, you have to
Be the
be the best, basically. I know the Titans was the first seed, but they were clearly not the best in the AFC. The Chiefs are. And yes, I really want the Bengals to win, as everybody does, except, Missouri and all the other Chief fans. I could see a shootout just for a little while in the game, but then I think overall the Chiefs take it. It'd probably be like, 42 to 28. I think the Bengals win, sadly, and go on to another Super Bowl. I think the third in a row. So, yeah, I got the Bengals, sadly. I mean the Chiefs, sadly.
whoa.
John, you've only got one person going for the Bengals, and it's me.
I don't know what else to
Yeah,
say.
John, who's your pick here?
Who's going? I'm sorry.
So, I mean, John, who's your pick in the AFC Championship game?
I don't care what happens even if it doesn't go my way. I think it's been a season that I don't think any Bengals fan could have imagined. That's my freaking quarterback. That's Joe Cool. But even then, this is the same. Like in this division round, you can say whatever happens in this game. The fact that in the division round, Joe Burrow got sacked 6, 7+ times, still threw for 300+ yards, and didn't have a Tom Brady like first half. That to me is something that speaks to how you are under pressure. Now, obviously, this is the biggest game of his career. I mean, I'm gonna be biased. I don't care if I'm wrong. I really don't. But if somehow we did win, I would lose my freaking marbles and would lose my voice. I would scream at the top of my lungs, as I've already done the past day and a half. If you've seen my Instagram, because that's only a quarter of it. That's not all the videos. Just look at the MI6 group chat as I think Bro and Isaiah have. But I mean, I picked the Bengals to win. But again, defensive wise though, both teams' defenses are pretty much trash. And so I think Tyrann Mathieu exited out earlier in this game. So I think that really could be their factors. Let's say he's their best player on defense for the Chiefs, quote unquote. He could be gone after the year. So I think if he's not in this game, that could really be a big factor in terms of the running game or maybe the routes too. Don't forget their tight end news right there. They got Taylor or Higgins. Obviously it's Huggies, but we know. I picked the Bengals to win, but I really am concerned about Joe Burrow getting hit in this game.
Yeah, and then anyways, now let's go on to the NFC Championship game as the 49ers and the Rams will be going head-to-head here. And what's funny is that the Rams will be playing the NFC Championship game in their home, and you know that the home crowd's going to be behind them the whole way. And Isaiah, I'm going to start with you on this one, and I'll tell you my pick. I'm going to pick the Rams to win by a field goal over the Niners. It's not going to be easy, but I think McVay finally gets his revenge on Kyle Shanahan. Isaiah, who do you like between the Rams and the 49ers, and why?
Well, Laurel, I hate to break it to you, but even though the Rams are at their own home stadium, trust me, man, it's gonna be Levi Stadium South again, because you know the Niners are gonna take over that stadium, because San Francisco is literally like 6 hours away from Los Angeles. So it's gonna be, I guarantee you, at least half of the stadium or maybe 75% of that stadium is gonna be like red. So it might be just another Niners home game, but in LA. But you know, when I look at this game, I'm going to predict that we're going to see a rematch of Super Bowl 54. I think it was Super Bowl 54 between the Niners and the Chiefs. I think San Francisco wins this one because here's why. I think of it as ownage. And Kyle Shanahan has owned Sean McVay and the Rams in the last 6 meetings. He's 6-0 against Sean McVay and the Rams. It doesn't matter what players they have on the Los Angeles Rams. Kyle Shanahan still finds a way to beat them because they run the same offense. Shanahan knows McVay very well from their days working together in Washington. The defense, the reason why the 49ers defense always dominates the Rams is because they literally practice against that offense every single day in practice. So they know what they're up against. And I think that, I know the Rams came out firing the last time these two teams played. It was like 17-0 in the second quarter. But I just think that what we're going to see is the Rams are going to get off to a lead again, but it's going to get into their mind that, hey, this team has beaten us 6 times in a row. We can't beat this team, and the mental hurdle is going to come and bite the Rams in the butt when they make a mistake or the Niners score a touchdown. It's going to be like, oh, here we go again. The Niners are coming back. It's just like how Georgia felt when Alabama keep beating them. It was that mental hurdle. That mental hurdle is very, very important when it comes to sports. So give me San Francisco in this game. I think that the Niners, they just own the Rams, and San Francisco got out of the game against the Packers relatively healthy, thank goodness. And I can't wait for this game. It's going to be a classic, but give me the Niners to win it. I'm going to go San Francisco 27-20 over the Rams.
My score is Rams 34. Rams 34, Niners 31. So I have Rams. Isaiah has Niners. John, who do you have in the NFC Championship game?
Regular season is different than it is in the playoffs. I think, yes, I know what the Niners defense did against the Packers. But again, now you're playing against the Rams defense, which is, I think, arguably with Don and all those guys, I think I give the slight edge to the Rams on the defensive line. Matthew Stafford, all those guys. And to have your starting running back come back from a torn ACL is insane. But, I picked the Rams in this game. I think it's going to be really close. But, he's finally going to get that revenge. He finally don't have that terrible quarterback in Jared Goff, who, frankly, shouldn't have been drafted by the St. Louis Rams at their Los Angeles Rams. But, no, I picked the Rams win this game.
And I'll go with Christy next. Who do you like in the NFC Championship game between the 49ers and the Rams? And I'm with you on when you said in your comments that I picked the Rams to win this game. And I think in my Super Bowl prediction is going to be the Rams and the Chiefs.
I'm going Rams versus Bengals. I'm going with the Rams. I don't know. You can't bet against a defense that has Aaron Donald and Von Miller on there. And, of course, offensively, Cooper Kupp is a beast. And Matthew Stafford, he scares me sometimes, but he pulled it off. He and the Rams pulled it off. So I think they're going to the Super Bowl this year.
You're absolutely right about that, but we'll have to wait and see. So, Ben, who do you like in the NFC Championship game?
Yeah, this is going to be interesting because, as they say, defense wins championships, and these two teams have very elite defenses. Niners have a great defense where you could play press man. The last 2 outings against Dallas and against Green Bay, they did a great job of scheming their top weapons. So I expect their secondary to really keen on Cooper Kupp and, Odell Beckham. Let's just take a moment and just appreciate. I know that if anybody wants to talk about Odell, I know that obviously you have some people don't like Odell and stuff, but this guy just got out of Cleveland, and it doesn't seem like at first he looked like he was the right fit for the Rams, but Stafford is trusting him a lot, and he's playing really, really well. So if Odell Beckham could be the number 2, I know he's not like Robert Woods per se in terms of talent at this point in his career, but, you just give him another weapon outside of one of the best receivers right now in football, Cooper Kupp. It's hard to really bet against Stafford, but Stafford has the injury problem. He also has the interception problem, kind of similar to Jimmy G. So it's really the quarterback situation is tough to kind of say who was the edge over this. The Niners and Rams have a good defense. Who was the edge over this? Coaching. Sean McVay, the end of this game, completely fumbled the bag. You were up 27-3. That's going to hurt you down the road. Kyle Shanahan was up 28-3 a couple of years ago. He's had some moments where he has definitely lost it himself. Both these coaches have had problems in terms of sustaining, just finishing off games well. And so I really don't know what to say. I really don't. The best coach out of all rest of the teams, Andy Reid, without a doubt. I think, but in terms of offensive minded, Sean McVay or Andy Reid are the 2 best. But I got to go with the Niners. I got to go with them. There's something special about this team right now. And Casey and Isaiah are definitely going to be chirping after this, on Sunday in terms of going back and forth. So whoever gets the extra point, put the gloves on because there could be some fisticuffing. No, I'm just kidding. Whatever happens. It should be a really fun one. It should be a really fun championship Sunday. As I'm going to be getting ready to make some wings for like I did last year when I watched Brady play the Packers. So I was just expecting two really good games, and I'm going to pick the Niners. I'm going to go with the ups. I'm going to probably say it's going to be an upset. So I'm going to go upset. They've won the last 2 games on the road. Make it 3.
And then I'm going to go with James here. Who do you like between the Niners and the Rams? And I think this is going to be a really good championship Sunday. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I agree with Ben. I think their 49ers are coming in hot. I think they have all the components to win, to get to the Super Bowl at least. And I can't believe I'm really agreeing with Isaiah. But, yeah. Here in LA, if you recall, Week 18 between these two teams, it was Levi Stadium South. It was literally, I think, 80% 49er fans at SoFi. And the Rams are trying to make tickets only available to people that live in the LA area. So 49ers will have 49er fans coming from the north or, that live around there. They're going to have to buy them, on the higher market and pay more. But I think they'll show up in droves like they did in Dallas, like they did in LA. At any rate, I definitely agree with Isaiah again about how the game's going to go. Like I said with Ben, I think the 49ers win. It will be really close. I think Shanahan, again, with those last 6 wins over the Rams, he has the perfect game plan against them where you make the Rams play your style of game and you make sure, you score when you can and you stop them whenever you can. Now, the only thing is when you have Odell Beckham Jr. there and you have Cooper Kupp, you got to stop those 2 guys. You can have the running game do whatever they want, right? But you got to stop on 3rd down. You got to make stops. You got to force turnovers. Make Matthew Stafford throw terrible balls and make terrible decisions. Strip sack him. You saw what the Bucs did late against him. Do that. And what's funny here, I have family on both sides of the spectrum here. 49er fans, Ram fans in LA. So we were all eating off of these Ram plates today. It felt weird as a Raider fan. But
cool.
Hopefully the Rams win just the sake for my dad. But I definitely see the 49ers winning.
Yeah, pretty much Christy and I and John pretty much have the Rams winning. And then some of the people here have the Niners winning. But let's talk about a final hot take on this show here. And I was talking to everybody off air this. I want to get everybody's thoughts on this. I kind of predict that the first head coach that doesn't have a head coach is going to get hired this week. And I predict that the Raiders will go with Jim Harbaugh. I didn't believe Isaiah at first because I feel like that Mark Davis wants a big name. And I feel like that Jim Harbaugh would make sense because I think that he would be excited to work with Derek Carr and all that. I just think that Mark Davis just wants to sell out tickets. Right, Isaiah? What's your thoughts on my take about Jim Harbaugh being the next head coach of the Raiders?
Well, that's what I said after Mike Mayock got fired. I thought that the firing of Mike Mayock signaled that Jim Harbaugh was coming because that Jim Harbaugh, for him to go to the NFL and accept your offer, you're going to have to give him probably, final say on personnel decisions because when this dude got driven out of San Francisco, the reason why he got driven out of San Francisco wasn't because he couldn't coach. It was because he couldn't get along with the GM. Trent Baalke was the GM of the Niners, and him and Harbaugh clashed like literally all the time. And the Niners, I still don't know why to this day they chose Trent Baalke over Jim Harbaugh. I mean, look what Trent Baalke's doing now in Jacksonville. He's doing another ball club. But like you said, Loro, I think that Mark Davis, he wants to make a splash. He wants to sell tickets. He has proven that, when it comes to his track record of hiring coaches, that he wants to make that big splash. Just look at him hiring Becky Hammond to the Aces. He hired John
I don't think Mark
Gruden.
Davis owns Las Vegas.
Becky
But
Hammond doesn't play for the Aces. She doesn't coach.
no, I think
Head
he
coach of
coaches
the
the
Aces.
Yeah, he coaches the Aces. Yeah. And then Gruden from 2016 or 2017. And then he just loves to hire big name coaches to sell tickets. That's Mark Davis's MO. I think that him firing Mike Mayock was him clearing the deck to let Harbaugh bring in his own general manager, and then let Harbaugh be the head coach, because this is Vegas. This is like Vegas is not some sort of like team or city where you can just put a random coach that nobody's heard of and everybody will buy in. You need someone flashy to sell tickets. It's kind of like LA. Like you need the stars, and that's why I think Jim Harbaugh to the Raiders is an absolutely no-brainer. And also Harbaugh coached for the Raiders, I believe, in 02, 03, and he was like their quarterbacks coach. So it really makes sense. He has a relationship with Davis. It just makes too much sense not to happen.
And you think that if Jim Harbaugh's the head coach of the Raiders, I would think Derek Carr would be so excited to play for Jim Harbaugh.
Well, yeah, I think that if you're Derek Carr, you should be stumping for Jim Harbaugh to be your head coach, because I don't know if, like, let's say you hire Kellen Moore or a young head coach, they might want to bring in their own guys. But when you look at Jim Harbaugh, the reason why he wants to go to the NFL is because he wants to win. And when you look at Derek Carr, he's an established, proven quarterback. But if Harbaugh, I don't think Harbaugh would try to get someone else. I mean, if he can't get Aaron Rodgers, then I think he'll stick with Carr. Aaron Rodgers is like the only guy that I could see them moving off of Derek Carr, because like I don't see Harbaugh, if he comes in, getting a rookie, since he doesn't do well with rookie quarterbacks. He's a guy that just does well with veterans, and he wants to win. So I think Derek Carr, if you want to stay as the quarterback of the Raiders, you absolutely should be stumping for Jim Harbaugh to be your next head coach.
And you think Derek Carr will remain a Raider, assuming that Harbaugh is the next head coach?
Yes, I think so. I think that he will, unless that Aaron Rodgers somehow, some way wants to play for Jim Harbaugh.
I don't think so. I don't think so, Isaiah. But anyways, I'm going to go with Christy on this one. Do you think that the Raiders should go with Jim Harbaugh as the head coach?
I'm kind of iffy on that one. First, yes, he is a big name, and he would definitely be making a splash in Vegas. And if Derek Carr is still a Raider, then I think he would thrive under Jim Harbaugh. You look at Alex Smith with the Niners. I mean, he thrived under Harbaugh's coaching. But I don't know. I'm not sure if it'll work out, though. I almost think Harbaugh would probably want to go to Chicago and coach the Bears.
I have this hot take, Isaiah. What about this? If Harbaugh's the head coach of the Raiders, I meant Jim, Greg Olson, offensive coordinator, and Vic Fangio, defensive coordinator, and Rich Bisaccia stays as his special teams coordinator.
Oh, boy.
I think Fangio would definitely be the defensive coordinator, because Fangio and Harbaugh work together both at Stanford and San Francisco. But I honestly don't see him keeping Olsen. In fact, I see him being his own offensive coordinator, since Jim Harbaugh is a play caller. He wants to call his own plays. So I think that he's either going to hire someone else to be like a puppet offensive coordinator just to like have the titles. But if he's going to be the play caller, there's no doubt about it.
You don't think he keeps Greg Olson? He should keep Greg Olson.
No, I don't think he keeps Greg Olson, because I think that he wants to be his own offensive mastermind, and he wants to be the guy like dictating what's going on. And I don't think Greg Olson, who has play calling experience, would want to be like that shadow offensive coordinator.
I mean, some head coaches who are offensive minds are really good play callers. I think Jim Harbaugh is a great play caller, and I think Andy Reid's a good play caller too.
Oh, looks like Isaiah's having technical issues again.
You're just like a sports stakes.
Yeah. So, anyways, John, what would your reaction be if Jim Harbaugh's the head coach of the Raiders?
I'll be honest, that would be one of the dumbest things in the offseason. I don't see Harbaugh, think about it, when you fire a GM with any team and you fire your head coach, obviously for different circumstances, you're not obviously gonna be in a win now mode. And are we really sure that Harbaugh is a big splash? Why are we saying he's a big splash? What are we talking about? Getting so close with Michigan? Are we talking about the short stint with a rookie or second year quarterback, or the long development of Alex Smith? Like, what part, to me, are we really saying that Harbaugh is a big splash? I don't really think it is. I don't think it would work. I think it would be a terrible decision. And if I'm Derek Carr, yes, y'all got this really good roster, but let's say they have a different envision of the offense, then I'm not really too sure. I'm not really convinced of that. The Raiders need to work on their offensive line a little bit. Defense needs to take some progressions. Max Crosby, even though he's a phenomenal player. But no, I don't think he would really be a big splash. I think it sounds good, but I don't think it's one of those that would work.
What about you, Ben? Would Jim Harbaugh to the Raiders work?
I mean, you could always say never, right? But I do think that Ian Rappaport said, I think best, that Derek Carr's future is going to also be in the cards in terms of who the next coach will be. And I think you should just stay in-house. That's the best way to do it. I think the interim did his job. He was able to overcome a bunch of stuff off the field in terms of the Raiders' bad situations there and take them to the playoffs. So the fact that, after John Gruden, it just didn't seem like, they had a kind of direction in terms of where they were going. At least this intern obviously kind of did his best he can to kind of move on forward and get the team to the playoffs. So I think Derek Carr obviously respects a lot of that from a coach like that, and I think that you should try it again next year and see what happens.
And what about you, James? You're a Raider fan, and do you want to see Jim Harbaugh be your next head coach?
I'm really 50-50 on everything, First, I want stability. That's something the Raiders haven't had in a long time. A coach that's there, 7-8 plus years. The coach I could think about doing that was Tom Flores, and that was from 79 or 80 to about 88. And then John Gruden was here in 2 stints. But when you think about it, they've had the most turnover at head coach. So, first of all, I'm looking for the one candidate that will be here more than, 5 years, more than 6 years. Someone that you could trust on and off the field, someone who would be a leader of men and, do the right things and have the right philosophy for winning football and have a culture that brings in greatness. And that's something that's been missing from the Raiders a long time. And that being said, Jar Harbaugh, I could see him bringing some of that in, but also he has some baggage.
Did you mean Jim, not John?
Yeah, Jim Harbaugh. Yeah, he has some baggage. He could get those 15-yard penalties when he goes crazy on the sideline. He can call out players. He can, have issues with handshakes with head coaches. So I'm worried about him and his thought process when it comes down to being a leader of men. You have Rich Bisaccia, of course, who was a special teams coach, and they've always thrived with that. It's the other phases of the game that I wish the Raiders were more consistent at through the years. Yeah. We always send a punter or a kicker to the Pro Bowl. Well, lately the Raiders, they've been sending like Carr, some defensive players, but I'm really 50-50 on keeping Bisaccia or bringing in Harbaugh or another name. I'll tell you this, as a fan of the Raiders, I'm really nervous about this because we're going through this again. Another change at head coach, another change at a prime position, especially now with Las Vegas, as Isaiah mentioned. Well, in Las Vegas, though, there's not only the high price and the great shows, you also have those shows off the strip that, don't draw as much, or they're not a good show. Well, you can have a coach come in like that and be low key and be a great leader of men. So I'm just hoping that's the case, whatever direction the Raiders go. And when it comes to Derek Carr, I don't think he has a lot of say to his future with the Raiders. His play is going to have to determine that. He is a leader, no doubt.
I think Derek Carr has convinced the Raiders front office that he wants to stay a Raider for the rest of his career.
But it's him, though. It's his play. It's his time to say, hey, am I going to win games for the Raiders, or am I going to lose them? Now, he did better this year, but are we going to again go through this next season? And if they bring them back the next seasons, are we going to have ups and downs, or are we going to have consistency? Are we going to be able to bring in the right guys at receiver? Are we going to be good on and off the field? That's been a struggle this year, among other things. Well, 2021, So I'm really nervous, Laurel and Christy, about it. I really am.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, it's a great show. We'll have more hot takes, and we might talk about head coaching hires hopefully by next Sunday. Some final thoughts here is that our next show will be next Sunday after the conclusion of the NFC Championship game. Be sure to join myself, James, and Ben, and Isaiah, and Justin Bosman on the show, and then Christy, if you have time, come on and join us if you can.
Absolutely.
And some of my final thoughts is that what a weekend it was in football. Looking forward to next Sunday already, and looking forward to who's going to be playing in the Super Bowl in my hometown of Los Angeles, California, come February 13th. What's your final thoughts, James?
Great show, and thank you to Casey and among others who commented in. Thank you for everybody who joined us. I think next week we won't have the dramatics that we had this weekend. This weekend was just amazing. This weekend is like, a comment. You'll never see it again. You'll never have 4 games as close as we did. So I'm just amazed at what happened. So it was great to talk about it, because I'm talking with family about the games, and they have no knowledge sometimes, or they try to think they know stuff. But I know here at the Extra Point, you have the most knowledgeable people of the game here that I know. So I'm happy to be a part of this.
And Isaiah, you're back at the airport. What are your final thoughts on this?
My final thoughts is it was an amazing show. It was also a tremendous divisional weekend of football. I mean, if the conference championships are anything like today, I mean, we're going to have one hell of a conference championship Sunday next week. I'm hoping that I will be able – I haven't got my schedule yet for next week or this upcoming week when it comes to my work schedule. So I'm hoping that I will be able to be off and actually get to watch the game at home instead of like looking like a lunatic when it comes to at my store. But it was a great show. Hopefully next week's games are, as great as it was today. But we know it's going to be really hard to top today's action. But Laurel, I do have an announcement that I want to, bring up, and that is to all the viewers out there that are watching, make sure you guys tune in tomorrow. We're going to have a special interview of Wild Sports Talk, a special interview edition, where we're going to have a guy from Hawaii come on to talk about the latest going on around that school, all the drama surrounding June Jones stuff and the Todd Graham situation and all that stuff. And we're going to have him come on at 5 p.m. Pacific. Keith Demoter from KITV4 in Honolulu, Hawaii. He will be coming on to talk about all of that. It's going to be a great show. Can't wait for it. And, you guys definitely should tune in because it's going to be, a lot of fun and, can't wait to have Keith on. So that's the breaking news. Tune in tomorrow. Keith Demoter joins Wild Sports Talk at 5 p.m.
Oh, I'll be there for that, Isaiah. I'm looking forward to getting on my Hawaiian shirt on for him.
Hey, I might have to dress up in some Hawaiian shirts as well, man. Got to go with the spirit, you know?
Message me who the name is so that we can get ready to ask our questions for him.
Okay, yeah, I'll message you after the show is over.
All right, and Christy, what are your final thoughts?
Well, just thanks for letting me come on the show. And this divisional weekend, wow, really exciting, and can't wait for the AFC and FC championship games.
Oh, it's going to be great. And for everybody out there, Extra Point next Sunday. And have a great night, everyone. We will be back next Sunday for the Extra Point. So we leave you with a final outro.
Yeah. I ain't choose the game chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophy. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the three. I can run 100 yards, I can throw it deep. I ain't choose the game chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophy. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the three. I can run 100 yards, I can throw it deep. I got what it take to be a champ. You know ball's life, you should come and join the camp. Title after title, put my rivals off the map. Thought you had the trophy till I came in for the snatch. I was born in it, not sworn in it. I ain't come to play, my wrist mean all business. Running like a mimic, check my jersey authentic. In Oakland with some Raiders till my haters deal with it. I'm in the field with it. Stop playing. I ain't choose the game chose me. I'm a champion, I need.
All right, Loro. I'll see you next week. Hopefully, I'll hit you up beforehand. See how the internet is at the house at the ranch. Hopefully, I'll get on. Hopefully, there won't be any technical or audio issues. But I'll let you know. I'll see you, man.